Hari Om, good morning everybody. Welcome to our Pravachana Malika talk series. This is talk number 10 and we're excited to invite our keynote speaker today, Dr. Kiruba Krishnamurthy, who is a professor in Sustainable Food Systems Engineering at University of Missouri, Columbia. So she's Annapurna Devi, in scholarship and in spirit. And so she's going to share with us very important topic of connecting Indian wisdom, which is connecting food, health, and glow, which we are all looking for every day in our lives. So this is a very, important topic, not only personally but academically, as well as today the food issues, health issues, mental health issues also, which relates to glow, are all critical topics. So we are very excited to invite Dr. Kiruba Krishnaswamy today. And we will start the program with the Vedic prayer. And if there are students of the Kendra, please start with the prayer. Om Bhadram Karnebhiः Shrunuyama Devaः Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraः Tirairangai Stuštuvagum Sastanubhiः Vyasema Devahitam Yadayuः Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti nastakshyo Arishthanemihi Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasan sir, please.
Om Agne Naya Sapatha Rahe Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan Yodhyasma Juhuranameno Bhuishtante Namamuktim Videma. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahman Brahmano Brahmavarchasi Jayatam Arashtre Rajanyah Shura Ishavyo Vyadi Maharatho Jayatam Dogdri Dhenuhu Vodhanadvan Asusaptihi Purandir Yosha Jishnorateshta Sabheyo Yuva Asya Yajamanasya Viro Jayatam Nikame Nikame Naha Varjanyo Na Varshato Palavatyo Na Voshadayah Pachyantam Yogakshemo Naha Kalpetam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vakpranaschakshuhu Shrotramato Balamindriyani Sarvani Sarvam Brahmopanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarotu Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirate Yavupanishadsu dharma Te mayi santo. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Annanindiyat Tadvratam Prano va annam Shariramannadam Prane Shariram Pratishthitham Sharire Pranaha Pratishtitah Tadetadannamanne Pratishtitham Sayayetadannamanne Pratishtitham Veda Pratitishthati Annavanannado Bhavati Mahan Bhavati Prajaya Pashubhi Brahma Varchasena Mahan Kirtya Annanna Parichakshita Tadvratam Apova Annam Jyotirannadam अप्सु ज्योति प्रतिष्ठितम् ज्योतिष्यापा प्रतिष्ठिताः तदेतदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितम् स य एतदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितं वेद प्रतिष्ठति अन्नमानन्नादो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिः ब्रह्मवर्चसेन महान् कीर्त्या अन्नं बहुकुर्वीत तद्व्रतं पृथिवी वा अन्नम् आकाशोन्नादः पृथिव्यामाकाशप्रतिष्ठितः आकाशे पृथिवी प्रतिष्ठिता तदेतदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितम् स य एतदन्नमन्ये प्रतिष्ठितं वेद प्रतिष्ठति अन्नमानन्नादो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिः ब्रह्मवर्चसेन महान् कीर्त्या ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत्
Very nice. The Annam rendering is excellent. Thank you. So,
कंजदळायताक्षी कामाक्षी कंजदळायताक्षी कामाक्षी कंजदळायताक्षी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंजदळायताक्षी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंजदळायताक्षी कुंजरगमने मणिमण्डित मंजुळ चट्रण्ये कुंजरगमने मणिमण्डित मंजुळ चरण्ये मामव शिव पंचरसुखि पंकजमुखि गुरुगुहरञ्जनी दुरितभञ्जनि निरञ्जनि कंजदळायताक्षी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंजदळायताक्षी राकाशशिवदने सूरदने राकाशशिवदने सूरदने रक्षितमदने रत्नसदने श्रीकाञ्चनावसने सुरसने शृङ्गाराश्रयमन्दहासने एकानेकाक्षरि भुवनेश्वरि एकानन्दामृतजरि भास्वरि एकानेकाक्षरि भुवनेश्वरि एकानन्दामृतजरि भास्वरि एकाग्रमनोजयकरि श्रीकरि एकाम्बरीश गृहेश्वरि शङ्करि कंजदळायताक्षी कामाक्षी कमला मनोहरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी कंजदळायताक्षी कामाक्षी
program narustundi.
That was Annapurna Duri, my sister, entering the song. So we have a couple of more chanting. So I will next put Adhya's chanting. And maybe you can guess Adhya's age once I start playing.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Krishnaya Namaha. Namaste, I'm Adhya, I'm 3 years old. Om Padaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasenam Gratitam Puranamuninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamrutavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashatrayanim Ambatvamanusandatami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini. Today I am singing 17 chapter food shlokas. Aharasvapi sarvasya Trivido bhavati priyaha Yagnastapastadatanam Tesham vedam imam shrinu. Ayu sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardana rasya snigdha stira hridya aharaha sasika priyaha. Thank you.
So that was Adhya on Aharam from Bhagavad Gita, and she's just 3 years old. It's unbelievable. That's a very blessed child. Next, I have Siddharth, who will also chant.
Mama Nama Siddhartha. I will be reciting chapter 17, shlokas 7 through 10. Aharastapi sarvasya trivido bhavati priyaha yagnastapastata danam tesham vedimamam shrunu ayuhu sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardanaha rasya snigdha stira hridya ahara satvika priyaha katvam lalavana tyushna tikshna ruksha vidahinaha ahara rajasasya Sheshta dukkha sokamaya pradaha yatayamam gatarasam puti paryushitam chayatam uchishtamapi chamedyam bhojanam tamasapriyam. Om Tat Satu. Shri Krishnarpanamastu.
It's a very appropriate chantings from Gita. Thank you, Siddharth. So Nanna, you can introduce the speaker today.
Yes, welcome to everyone. And today we have a nice time to know more and more about the Indian wisdom in the food, and which is adding to our health and glow and all that. And we have now heard what Krishna wants to share on the food, in spite of telling so many yogas, 17 yogas in Gita. He also talks about the kitchen. He talks about the food. That's really interesting. Food also is a yoga, Anna Yogam. And we had also Vasan reciting the Anna Suktam, or Anna, thoughts on Annam by in Taittiriya Upanishad. And so we just know that the wisdom, Indian wisdom, has started right from our ancient times, beginning from Rig Veda and down, even today up to Kiruba Krishnaswamy Garu. Because everyone, the other day when I met that Kiruba in Columbus, in Missouri, I was introduced to her saying that she has taken in Canada PhD in the food engineering. That just attracted me very much. See, inner engineering that Sadhguru is getting on, and food engineering is also important. Technology, whatever the other words, but food engineering, that is, you have to monitor the food habits. And Indian means vegetarian. No, most of it agricultural thing, and vegetarian food is healthy because you, instead of going for animal food or animal protein and all that, that the vegetarian food is highly good. And there will be a lot of wisdom, and Ayurveda depends upon the Indian food and herbs and plants and all that, Oshadhi Vanaspatis and all that. So I just requested her immediately, how not you share your expertise and little knowledge that you have been enjoying. And she sent her biodata. It runs to a number of pages, which I am not going to read, because she's connected to 3-4 departments in the university. She will mention the department connected to biosciences. That is, bio is all life sciences, and they connect and deal with the life, because food is a life thing. And food is important whether the body is living or dead, because even for the departed souls, every year we offer food, Shraddha Karma, we do it. And 1 year for us here in the Bhulokam is equal to 1 day in Pitrulokam. Therefore, every year, if you are doing Shraddha or Bhojanam for the departed people for 3 generations, like, that means every day they are also sitting on our dining table, mystically and invisibly, and enjoying and blessing all of us. Therefore, you observe, food is a connectivity not only for the human beings, also the mains, departed souls, also the gods. Yesha Devan Suraganan Pati Gavasthibihi. And so the Surya Bhagavan, when he rises, he gives food for all the gods. When you call Agnaye Swaha, Indraya Swaha, and offering that, then for that sake they get food. That's why Yajna Bhagas, even gods. Therefore, you observe, food is a universal substance which all beings, living, not living, divine, semi-divine, etc. require. So not talking very much about the food, I just request Kiruba, Dr. Kiruba, who is a philosopher in the food technology and food management and etc. I request her. We are all here, and welcome to all people, Dr. Chakkalingam Garu and so many. And our cardiologist, Dr. Krishna Mohan from Atlanta, I have requested him to also participate, like that Sandhya and all of them. Welcome to them. And now the Indian Wisdom, Connecting Food and Health by Kiruba Krishnaswamy. Welcome, madam.
Yeah, thank you, Uncle Ji. Thanks to everyone who is joining here. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'm Kiruba Krishnaswamy. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Missouri, and I have a joint appointment in the biomedical, biological, chemical engineering, as well as in the division of food, nutrition, and exercise sciences. So I would thank Uncle Ji for giving this opportunity to talk about Indian wisdom connecting food, health, and glow. So first, I would like to declare the opinions and points of view expressed in this presentation represents the view of me, my presenter, and does not necessarily represent the official position of the organization that I represent. So saying that, I would like to start my presentation with the blessings of my gurus, and also the talk is also structured like this. My ancestry starts from Kanchipuram, and it started with all the oral traditions of stories that's been transferred from grandparents and traditions that's been transferred. And I dedicate this particular presentation to my uncle, who recently we lost him. And he was the president of the Indian Siddha Medical Association, and also the founder of Siddha Herbal Research Institute. and he was a specialist in Varnam. And these demonstrations, these were all orally transmitted, like, transferred for a long period of time. So I dedicate this presentation to him. And to all my teachers and professors and mentors who have been the guidance throughout my journey, the academic journey, from India to Canada to Missouri. So that's the reason I'm here. So thanks to all. And as we talk about oral traditions, right? Before the scripts, we were transferring all the knowledge through oral traditions. And the Devanagari scripts are like the scripts that we see: Sanskrit, Hindi, Marathi, Nepali, and so many scripts are based on the Devanagari. And Tamil Brahmi scripts are also found in ancient scripts. But before all these scripts came, it was mostly oral transmission of knowledge. And so that's why I've put the largest spoken Indian languages throughout the world, starts from Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Marathi, Gujarati, and Punjabi. So why I've put this is because knowledge was transferred, and we always talk a lot about Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the knowledge of life. It translates, and this roughly around 5,000 plus years. We do not know the exact dating of all these Vedas, and so I've just put an approximation. And the traditional system, Indian system, originates from the Indian subcontinent. There is a reason why Indian subcontinent is very unique and as its strengths, because from the subcontinent, we have around 6 recognized systems of Indian traditional medicine, from Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Naturopathy, Homeopathy. Though these came at the later stages, yoga was before, like, Yoga, Siddha, they were all quite earlier. And the Indian tradition flourished in the subcontinent because of the climatic conditions. We had the abundance of growth from natural herbs to trees. Those were the primary source of formulations in the Ayurvedic medicines. And that leads me to talk about the importance of climate and food, because that's the reason why we were able to enjoy the beauty of nature, the abundance and the blessings that nature has given us. So as we know, it's tropical monsoons in the south, it's temperates in the north, and there are various factors that affects the climate of the subcontinent, from the oceans to the monsoons. And as we say, this is some of the climatic zones. When we have climate, that will affect the production of foods and vegetables, right? So some of the major agricultural crops that are present are rice, and these are some of the fruits and vegetables. Also is quite in abundance in the subcontinent, like the subcontinent, I would say. And why it is important is because like, as you see, this is the tropical wet zone where you have richness of medicinal herbs and spices. And that led to a lot of exploration. Why people came to India during the exploration was because of this abundance. And different zones had its own food production, but the Indian medicine flourished in the southern because of the raw materials that was available in the south. And from a food production standpoint, actually India is one of the largest producers of milk in the world. It's the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables, and second largest producer of rice, wheat, and it's first in production in bananas, papayas, mangoes. And it's one of the largest producer of potatoes, onions, cauliflower, brinjal, cabbages, ginger, okra, and chilies. So that's the richness that we can find in India. And as we say, agriculture is the backbone of India because of this climate and the good soil which comes together to give us the food that we eat. And also India is the top most producer of pulses. So we are from chickpeas to beans and peas, we are one of the largest producer, followed by Canada and other countries. So when we have such abundance, right, that reflects in the type of food that we consume. So we're not like very limited in the way we consume food because we had our options and the varieties. So I'm just going to go through a few gastronomic history. And since my roots are from the South, it's going to be predominantly from the knowledge that was transferred to me. And so if there is anyone in the audience who wants to share from your from your tradition and from the knowledge of the place that you've grown in, I would like to hear that as well. So food is pretty much served on a banana leaf in the South. And why it is important is because the rasas and the gunas. Food was classified into 6 major tastes, that is sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. And currently, when we see the type of food that's we using now, we eat a lot of salt and sweet, but we leave a lot of bitter and astringents. But that is also, you need to have a balance of the rasas in order for the food to digest, because that is going to trigger a lot of enzymes in the mouth, the digestive tract. So that's what the ancient the wisdom, we had a balance of all these things in our meals. And also food was divided into sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic food. And that had whatever you are, what you eat, right? So that's a concept that's been transformed as well. So why food was important? Because it had the psychological deposition on the human, in human being. So comparing the 3 gunas, the tamasic food had hides awareness. It was more heavy, and it had some hinders self-inquiry because of it in fear, sluggish, and prone to depression. So that's the quality of tamasic food. Then the sattvic food, then the rajasic food are more extroverted, the type of food that is rich in not only fats, but the balance is quite high, very salty, very high proportions of material that's been given in the rajasic food. That also kind of hinders self-inquiry. And the sattvic food, that was what was recommended for achieving greater self-inquiry, enlightenment, and reveals the awareness. It gives a presence, a clear presence of mind, happy, and helps in interruption, interrupt the truth. And so that's what most of the time sattvic food was recommended in the ancient food systems. Why that had an effect on the body, food affects the body and the cosmos, because we are all connected. So to understand that, it was divided into 5 elements and theories. That's the earth, water, fire, air, and space. And the composition and the way they reacted determined the vatam, kapham, and pittam. So now they say vata, pitta, and kapha, but Krishnaswamy uncle, he used to say it's vatam, pittam, and kapham. So vatam is a combination of space and air, pittam is fire, and kapham is water and earth. So recently there has been wonderful articles that throughout the presentation, I will be giving the reference articles that I've cited all these information from. So having an imbalance in the way these cosmic, these elements in a body can cause misalignments that could lead to disease, right? So that's why food, yoga, were part of the system. You need to have a balanced food, because you are going to, as we go, we're going to have all the elements, or the food gives the minerals, vitamins that's required to have that balance. And so that was something that was quite important in the Indian traditional medicinal system, connecting food and health. And so if at all if there is imbalance, right? If there is more vata, there is more and how do we balance it, or how do we rectify it? That was something we used materials and the way the food was combined with each other. So here, some of the ways that some of the doshas were elevated by using different vessels or utensils. Like gold was said that it had the properties to remove any doshas and give wholesomeness to the body. Silver was said that it was improves the eyesight and elevates some doshas. So brass elevates kapham and destroys worms and aggravates vata. Iron actually treats swellings and anemia. So that's why this is very important. In the olden days, certain food were made in the iron pots, because when the food was prepared, iron could enter, and you had citric acid, lemon was added, so it could facilitate the easy digestion of iron and prevent anemic problems, especially among women. And earthenware, wooden leaves, crystals, everything had leaves, banana leaves. It helped to stimulate the digestive enzymes, removes toxin, and also gave an appetizing feel for consuming the food. And so that's why in the traditional ways, the food and what material it was served were also considered very, very important. So here I've just put some of the materials that like brass, we saw brass, gold, and we had wooden utensils, clay utensils, iron, and traditional stone utensils that was used in the olden days to facilitate the the preparing the meal. So once the meal is prepared, now you have to serve it, right? So there is a way, the eating etiquettes in the olden days was also quite interesting, because we could learn a lot. The way you said, that's a yogic pose. This is a yogic pose, Padmasanam. And then the food we eat with our hands, which is really good, because your hand is clean. You're going to wash your hands and you're going to eat, so you're not going to be worried who ate this fork. So that was pretty good. Cleaning it imparts, and it also a sense of touch, right? These are all senses. The way you touch a food can say, okay, this food is cold, this food is hot, and it gave it activated all the senses, and also helped in digestion as well. So for example, food, the way the food is arranged in a banana plate, that itself is very interesting. It's because you have all textures. It's not like a smoothie, right? In the Western world, a pizza or a smoothie, it's only one texture. We study this, the texture is called the rheological properties of material, and we could measure these, the hardness of the food, the gumminess, the springiness. So we could characterize all those and measure them to get quantitative data. But what is interesting about the Indian food system is it had all textures, from chewiness to gumminess to hard, hard materials. So it activated, the process of chewing itself helped in the secretion of amylase, it started the digestion process from the mouth. So by the time it reaches your esophagus, and we had the pH of the stomach is around, this is around 6.87, the pH is around 2 to 3, more acidic. And then when it goes into your small and large intestine and small intestine, it's getting back to the neutral phase. And here you have a lot of gut microbiome, and which is also helps in the digestion. So by the time the food enters your system, we want to absorb all the nutrients from that, right? And also one interesting fact that how the food is consumed. Here we have the rice and the lentil. So that
are you showing some PPT? We are not able to see.
Oh, really? Hello?
Yeah.
No, we are able to see the slides fine. I think your setting, you may have to swap the screen a little bit to see the slides. The projection has been fine all along.
Thank you. Kindly let me know so I could reshare. So
It looks good now. Yes, please continue.
perfect. Thank you. So, so the way the food is arranged, right? Like we have rice and lentils, so that is your carbohydrates and your proteins. It's a perfect balance. And then generally you have something, we all have something like the like a spicy, like tamarind based koram, something like that, a curry, which will accelerate your like digestive juices because it's more acidic. Then like rasam is more soothing, and it's also like, you know, it's light. The viscosity of rasam, I would say it will be like 4 millipascal seconds, 4 to 5 millipascal seconds if I put it under a rheometer. The consistency of the curry, which has both solid particles and liquid particles, so you have two different textures that's entering your mouth. So the viscosity will change. And then we have, like, you know, so the rasam will be very, very less viscous fluid. And then we end with curd, right? So we are ending with a probiotic. So we had an order, right? You start with sambar or dal, and then the curry, the curry, and then you have rasam, and then curd. So that's also a way to enhance the digestive process. It helps in the digestion. And also we had a lot of fruits and vegetables, different vegetables that gave the vitamins required, and we have fruits that so it was perfect. The balance of the food has been thought beautifully, thousands and thousands of years, and that is always fascinates me. And also now, like, you know, the recent articles have come to say that cancer could be prevented by balancing, combining good diet, weight loss, and we need to have a holistic approach. And also this interesting article says that it was proved that sambar has some properties to prevent colon cancer because of the fibrous material and the balance of the lentils and other spices that's been added, the proportion at which added. So recently we are looking into it, not from one perspective, but more a holistic approach to address diseases like cancer and so on. So that gives an overview. And now I would talk about why I am interested in sustainable food systems engineering. So why is because as we started the 21st century, when we started our presentation, I did tell the importance of climate, right? But what happened is we did see a lot of climatic disasters, earthquakes in the 2001s, the Indian Ocean tsunami. Actually, this is Chennai, and this happened in the Marina Beach. And then this is Uttarakhand floods, like we had Uttarakhand floods. So pretty much as we started the 21st century, we have seen all the natural calamities from earthquakes, tsunamis, wildfires, droughts, and even in Columbia, Missouri, we had floods 2 years ago. So this is not a phenomenon that's happening only in one part of the world, but it's happening throughout the world. And this is quite dangerous, is because of the food production, like, you know, food, climate, they are all interconnected. And if there is a climatic disaster, it's going to affect the food price. And now we are in a global pandemic, right? We saw tons of food getting wasted. And also here we saw people without food. And this situation was really bad in the developing countries because of COVID shutdown, and accessibility of food was limited. And also COVID-19 has exposed the social disparities in the world. Like, you know, initially it was there, it was all underlying, but now people are able to see it. And around 80% of people living in the, in the rural areas and indigenous communities, fishermen, are affected by hunger. And around 20% in the urban areas and slums. So whenever we whenever these communities are affected, first thing is hunger. Whenever we talk about hunger, the first thing that comes to our mind is chronic hunger. Chronic hunger affects around 821 million people, and this statistics is before the onset of COVID. We are projecting that these numbers are going to increase around, which is very, very sad. That approximately 821 million people was 1 in 9% was affected by chronic hunger. But I'm here to talk about something much more dangerous, which is called the hidden hunger. This is due to micronutrient deficiencies. It affects 2 billion people on this planet, around predominantly affecting women and children, and around 7 million children before they reach their 5th birthday die annually because of malnutrition. And irrespective of developed or developing country, every country on this planet Earth is affected by hidden hunger. And this is something that I am, that motivates me to do research and come up with solutions. So on the one hand, we have around 2 billion people affected by hidden hunger. And whenever we talk about malnutrition, we always think about wasting and stunting. But actually overweight and obesity also falls under the same umbrella, and that is connected. Recently, there's a lot of Lancet report that's saying micronutrients can play another role in aggravating the double burden of malnutrition. So on one hand, we have this problem, but on the other hand, we waste around 1.3 billion tons of edible food annually is wasted. And so one hand, we have people without food, and we have, on the other hand, we waste 1.3 billion tons of food. In nature, there is nothing called waste. Waste is a terminology that is developed by human beings, because in nature, everything formed and it transformed into something else. And that's how the cycle of nature is going, right? But what if we learn this power of transformation from Mother Nature, and are able to develop technologies, zero waste food processing systems that is fortified with micronutrients? Then we will not be calling this as food loss or food waste, but rather raw materials for our processing, right? It's not that, but it becomes a raw material, so we could recover micronutrients and feed the people who are in need, or prevent food loss from happening. So that's the whole vision of my research program. And my lab is called the FEAST Lab. It's Food Engineering and Sustainable Technologies Lab. And I know this is a big challenge. There is no single bullet to solve this problem, but everyone can contribute, right? So these are the 3 areas that we are contributing towards addressing this problem. One is sustainable food systems engineering, where we do upcycling of food waste and food loss. Mostly prevention, post-harvest prevention in fruits and vegetables, nuts, underutilized crops, and native medicinal plants. So once we are able to either prevent the food loss from happening, or recover from food waste, once we are able to do that, then we fortify those foods to develop ready-to-eat therapeutic foods, fortified with micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals to address hidden hunger and malnutrition. So when we are fortifying, actually, these micronutrients like vitamins, minerals, they are very susceptible to heat, light, and they're easily degradable. So that's why we do innovative delivery platforms like encapsulation, micro and nano encapsulation, to protect them from degrading or interacting with other micronutrients, so their bioavailability is kept intact. And we, for that, we do green nanotechnology. So these are the 3 areas of our research program. And as you see, it's all connected with zero hunger. And I will say what is that. And the interested population groups are women and children in rural, tribal, and urban communities. So that's the research program that I lead. And as you see, this zero hunger, this is a UN Sustainable Development Goal number 2. So in the year 2015, around 193 countries came together to have an agenda for the future, like 2030, what do we want? So these are the 17 goals that's been proposed by the United Nations. So if we are able to, and goal number 2 is the zero hunger, that's where we are trying to contribute. And no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality. So these are all big transformational goals. what is something very common is we cannot achieve any of these goals without partnerships. Partnerships play a key role because 10 decades ago, we were all having our expertise in silos, right? But if we want to solve grand global challenges, we cannot anymore work in silos. We have to break those silos and start talking with each other to understand the needs of the communities and address those problems. So that's something that we are happy and we are glad to contribute towards these goals. And so I'm just going to give an overview of one research project that might be of interest to this group. And this particular project is on the sustainable food systems engineering. And what here we are doing is we are using underutilized grains like amaranth, millets, banyan millet, finger millet, kuro, little pearl millet, porso millet, sorghum. Why we are trying to recover or add value to these is because one, they are drought tolerant, they are climate resilient, they have health promoting compounds, and they are also considered as functional foods because of the phytochemicals present. And in the US, they are used as bird feed or livestock feed, but in Asia or in Africa, most of these millets are part of the food that we all like, it's culturally consumed. And so they are gluten-free, they are rich in protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. So this is a raw material that we are working in our lab. And yes, my student, we just published this paper on the physical and structural characterization of underutilized climate resilient seed grains. And why I'm showing this data is, actually, you could see Asia, that predominantly India was one of the major producers of millets in the 60s and 70s. So you can see a peak. But then drastically, there was a reduction in the production of these millets. And so Asia is one of the largest producers, but recently there is an increase in the awareness about the health benefits of millets. So there is a little bit increase here, but we lost a lot during this period. And so if we have to bring up the production, then first thing is we have to understand or scientifically prove the importance of these ancient grains, right? So that's what we are trying to do in our research to support the mission of Sustainable Development Goal 2. So here, this particular paper, what we've done is we have consolidated all the major ancient grains, the scientific name, the geography of domestication, which year of domestication, and who are the major producers of these grains currently, and an image of the plant, the grain, and the common names, because most of these ancient grains, vernacularly, they've been called different in different, though even in the same country, it's called differently. So in order to understand, so that's a nice compilation we did. And we not only in Asia, like not only in India, but we also have some data for Swahili, like, African names, Yoruba names. So we were able to get from pretty much most of the millets that consolidate them in this paper. And why we did this is because these millets have very high proportion of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, calcium, iron, and calories. So finger millets, the iron composition is quite high, like banyan millet. So that's the reason. Actually, this is an electron microscopy image of ancient grains. And actually, this is the first report that provides electron SEM image comparison on the surface morphology of ancient grains, because this is very helpful for us to advance research in this area. And as you see here, when we see these grains, when we see them, they all look similar, like only there is a little bit of color differentiation, but they are spherical, oblate, or small. But when we see it under the electron microscope, you can see the amaranth. Amaranth is in Tamil, it's called Tandikira, or in Hindi, it's Rajgira. So you see it has a beautiful coat. And this is little millet, banyan, and kuro millet. You can see there is surface degradation. There is a reason why that happens. This is ragi, ragi mudde, we use. So you can see the texture of it is like, if I have, it's a very interesting texture, the surface morphology. It has microscopic indentions on its surface. And sorghum has a very smooth surface. Why this sorghum, finger, pearl millet is also beautiful smooth surface, and amaranth compared to these ones is because these millets have an outer coat. So you need to do a dehulling process. When you do that process, there is a mechanical damage that is caused on the grains. So we had to explore what is the impact of the mechanical damage there, but at least this was the first report saying it's structural morphology. Okay, so then this particular paper, what we did is, once we understood its structural morphology, we want to see the functional properties of the ancient grains, and we want to see the mineral profile and the vitamin profile. Actually, most of these grains, like they had high amount of vitamin and mineral. And also here, this is an essential amino acid profile of these grains comparing with rice and maize. So you can see the rice and maize are like, lower, and most of these, like, sorghum or finger millet, little millet, they had high amount of essential amino acid profile compared to that of rice and maize, which is pretty good, because when we are looking for a complete protein, how do we balance them to get that complete protein? So that is another interesting finding from this particular paper. And then once we find this, we found the structural properties, we found the functional properties, then what are the products that can be used? So we were trying to develop some complementary foods using that. And so what we did is we added Greek yogurt, acid whey. After you make the yogurt, the water that comes out, that's called the acid whey. And if we could blend it in a ratio, then it has high probiotic properties, because all these lactobacillus species are present in the yogurt, and then they can have a synergistic effect to improve the digestive properties of the food that's being developed. So why it is important? Why did our ancestors do this, right? There's always a question, why was this formulated like this? So we need to do some scientifically, we have to prove it by this happening. So tannins, these are an anti-nutritional factor. Actually, they are a condensed polyphenols, and its monomer is this. So here, if you see pure, this is Kuda and Porso millet we took. Pure Kuda and Porso millet has high amounts of tannins, but once we add, or once it's fermented, or you have another matrix which probiotics added to it, we can see this drastic reduction in the anti-nutritional factor. So around 69% reduction in millets, in Kudo, and around 82% reduction in Porso millet. And that's also varies about the amount of addition, what percentage ratio the grain and the acid base added. So that will also have an effect on it. And phytic acid is also another anti-nutritional factor, which can bind with the minerals that could be present and can decrease the bioavailability of the minerals. So by doing these simple compositions, we could reduce the phytic acid content as well. So that was a very so proving it scientifically, what is the reason behind these factors and reduction. And there is a practical application to this as well. And when we do this, this is also the amino acid profile of combining millets with acid whey. We could see both you had all the essential amino acids as well as the non-essential amino acids. So that was also preserved, which is pretty good. And you might be wondering why it is important to know, to study this, is because we've been doing this idlis, right? We've been consuming idlis for a very long period of time. And the ratio of blending the rice and the lentil, actually that gives a complete protein, because it has a balanced amino acid profile. And that's why we say it's very nutritious. And I have a video for that. And this is a paper that was published recently, and they have done the fermentation process, and they found riboflavin, thiamine, and folic acid content to be after 10 hours of fermentation. They found it to be retained well. So that's a reason why we've been eating at least for a long period of time, but there is a scientific reason why we do what we do. And I have this video because we had Adya, and there is a lot of youth in the group as well. So I have a video for that. Okay. Let me know if the video is audible, like clear.
We present to you idli, the most nutritious food in the world. We hear that taste and health don't go together. Well, once you discover idli, you will realize that you can have delicious along with good health. Its nutrient quotient is so high that it has been recommended by several organizations in the world, including World Health Organization. Idli is one of the best Indian inventions in the world. It is 2 to 3 inches in diameter and consists of fermented black lentils and rice. Don't get fooled by its simple looks. Idli is a nutrient powerhouse. It is rich in carbohydrates, proteins, enzymes, fats, amino acid, and fiber, and contains no saturated fat and no cholesterol. According to the doctors, idli is a complete food that can be eaten with varieties of side dishes, which can run in the thousands. It is easily digestible and can be eaten by anyone, from small babies to the old man, healthy people to those who don't even have teeth. So go ahead, include idli in your daily diet, and enjoy the taste with health. Idli, the most nutritious and complete food from a great country called India.
So that was a nice video for sharing with students and for young kids to create the awareness about in the foods that we consume and its importance, the nutritional profile. That's something nice. So that was a idli, why we eat idli, and what are my take-home messages is, one is we have to protect these ancient knowledges and wisdom, because since it's been written in scripts that currently we don't understand, or we've not passed it down. So deciphering the code of the ancient text, that's going to be an important task, because we need experts who have the ancient knowledge, who can decipher those codes, and also scientists and researchers who could conduct experiments and scientifically validate those hypotheses. And then having a holistic approach for food, health, and glow, instead of compartmentalizing them into separate silos, having more a holistic approach. That is also an important thing. And also create awareness among youth, because they have to understand the importance of that each and every food is unique, and the way it's been consumed, sharing that knowledge and spending times with children and transferring what our grandparents did, keeping that knowledge passed on to the next generation. That is also an important thing, I think. So that's required to be continuing this the knowledge that has been given to us. And if you need more information, feel free to reach out to me or visit our lab. It's www.feastlab.com. And I do teach 2 courses on food process engineering and Zero Hunger Challenge. So I'll be happy to talk about that as well. So to conclude, what I would say is, as Uncle Ji said, food is something that connects us all, from the plants that is consumed to us. Then it's the source of energy that we have, right? And it is also very powerful, because food has the power to connect everyone, bring us all together. That happiness, the sharing, the beauty of sharing, all those things brings. Food is a center and can bring people together, and because we all eat, and this is the only one home that we have. And so on that note, I would really like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity and listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirubaji. Very nice talk. You connected many interesting facts. Idli video was awesome. It's interesting to know. So we can have some questions. If anybody has any questions, we can have some discussion.
It was an excellent talk, Kiruba. This is Anand Chokalingam. I have to confess, I came to learn about food and health, but most interesting to me was glow. I don't know if you said too much about it yet.
You know, if the food and health is there, automatically glow will start. Like, you know, it's internal, it's not external. So what we have inside, it automatically comes up. Right?
Very nice, very nice. Congrats. And this work is so important, not only for our individual health, but also for the health of the planet. And you pointed that out beautifully. And with Kiruba's help, we are hoping we can collaborate and bring more ancient wisdom to modern practice of medicine and cardiology here in mid-Missouri. Thanks, Prasad and Kalyam uncle for organizing such an amazing meeting.
Thank you.
Prabhagar, Prasad, I am Dr. Chokalingam, cardiologist from Chennai.
Namaste, uncle.
Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Really nice talk, Kiruba. I appreciate.
Thank you.
Few comments and few questions. You said zero hunger. But Anand is all the time, fasting is the best way of living. Then we are going to make it zero hunger. What do you mean by that? Starvation, fasting, agreed. There's no any starvation. But feeling the sense of hunger and fasting, I think it becomes an ingredient of our human well-being itself, Kiruba.
Yes, thanks for that question, Uncle. The reason the zero hunger here implies the people who are not able to consume, like even have $1 a meal a day, right? So below the people living in the poverty line. So how do we ensure that everyone is having food to eat? Because currently the situation is around 821 million people are below the poverty line and do not even have enough food to eat. Once we are able to achieve that, then we can talk about fasting, starvation, which is all higher levels of inquiry to understand our the purpose of our life. But that comes when the stomach is full, right? At least there is some food to eat. If a family doesn't have food to eat and the children, as a household, we go on surveys and it's very sad that even in the 21st century, we see certain things about parents, they're not able to provide for their children and so on. So that zero hunger is to make sure everyone has some nutritious food to eat. Once we're able to achieve that goal, then we can go about thinking, how can we make it more holistic, more what Anandana is doing. That's the next level. But first is to make sure that everyone can come there, right?
Why I asked this question, Kiruba, many of my heart patients, if they're telling me that instead of taking 3 meals a day, I'm able to take 2 meals a day, that increases the lifespan 10 years. If they say I'm able to take only 1 meal a day, they ought to live more than 100 years. So meal reduction per day, you are lengthening your healthy life. So what our culture, society now is taking 3 meals, 4 meals, 5 meals, 6 meals per day. I think we must educate the younger generation. Maybe our siddhas, they took even once in 3 days, 4 days, 1 meal like that. They all lived like that. I'm not telling what should be guiding them in the near future of younger people. But keeping the minimal food intake, what you really need it may be very enormous, because the food what you take really kills them. That's what I personally feel. It's just like a poison.
True. Actually, that's an excellent point, Uncle. It's because in the ancient Siddha system or different like traditional medicine systems, we didn't have 3 meals a day. Okay, it was only 2 meals or 1 meal, depending upon the like if it's a woman, she's of reproductive age, or if it's a child or elderly. Based on that, they consumed the required proportion of food and the type of food. But this 3 meals a day is a Western concept where you go, you work, you take a shift, then you eat, then you work, take a shift. So that's kind of been incorporated into the current ways, like, and then you have snacks and all those things. These are all external new thoughts that has been incorporated. But olden days, this is what I've heard, is pretty much the Siddhargal, they can sometimes live with only breathing air. So they had that much of, they had the alignment of their body, their soul, the mind, all so synchronized that they could live on bare minimum, like 1 meal a day or so on. But as we are not there yet, right? 2 meals, I would say that's more than enough.
I really appreciate Kiruba. I don't know whether I'll be permitted to ask one more question. Shall I, Prabhagar?
Yeah, please.
Now, I usually say one saying, better to fast than living on fast food. I think younger generation must stress more about the fast food, how bad it is, especially European and American culture. And I want to have one basic question. Nowadays, you are seeing diabetes become capital in India. What are the real fruits they can take, diabetic people? Some they say they can take anything they want. Some they say they should not take. As a cardiologist, I'm confused. What is your concept, Kiruba?
Actually, I'm not an expert in that, so I'm not able to answer that question, Akka. But I could get back to you. But it's
the same thing is true regarding oil intake also. Saturated, unsaturated. I think everything we must guide as properly. But one thing what I gained that experience, Prasad, all vegetable foods are all 0 cholesterol. There is no cholesterol in any vegetable origin. All nuts are 0 cholesterol. Everything is 0. But take it with the skin of it, only if you don't take too much because of calories. But I learned one important point from your slides, Kiruba, because I've been simultaneously attending 3 conferences, but anyway, I didn't want to miss. Anand told me to join. I have been with the impression that millets, rice, and wheat, ultimately your breakup figure, not much a difference at all. The protein content, starch, and other things are all rice, wheat, and millets. They're not. I thought millets are enormous protein, but it's not like that. That's what your slide shows. So really, I got a new point, but so far I have been with the wrong impression. What is the comment about millets?
Okay. Actually, the point is here, proteins are made up of amino acids, right? And we have essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. Not like when we compare it with rice and wheat, millets, the combination of millets can give us a complete amino acid profile, because some millets can have some high amount. I can share that slide. So here you can see the rice, like, if we see only the proximates, we like the proteins, carbs, and fats, so they're all proximate analysis. But when we go deep into the profile, like, what is the sugar profile, what is the amino acid profile, break it down, break the proteins further down, that's where we'll see more insights. Here we have the rice and the maize. So that's going to be a rice and that's going to be a maize, right? And then we can see and wheat. But you can see like the little millet, finger millet, and sorghum, they all have high amounts of these, like, leucine, like all the essential amino acids. The profile is higher.
Okay, okay.
So that's where, though, as when we do approximate, it all looks like, okay, they all are within the same range. But when we go deep down, then we'll see the patterns, how, how they have a rich amino acid profile, which makes them very nutritious.
Oh, really good. I didn't catch that slide. Really very great. In that case, Smrta as a nephrologist is there. If you take millets of more protein content, will it be dangerous, Smrta, if they take it for renal decompensation? You tell them restrict all protein intake. Then where do you stand? A person with renal compromise and diabetes, kidney affect, then how should they be able to address it with taking millets?
So the protein intake, we don't restrict too much, because malnutrition is like a more important problem in our patient population, especially when they start dialysis or their later stages of CKD, nearly 4 or 5. So when we suggest protein restriction, they go in for malnutrition, and so they develop infectious complications. So we ask them to stay somewhere around the 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram mark. So that's where we ask them to stay, so that they don't develop malnutrition, as well as we can avoid rapid progression of the CKD.
Oh, very good. Very good. Good point.
And the type of protein also makes a big difference, because when we take animal sources of protein, which is what is generally considered protein in the Western world, there is so much extra risk for the body that comes from inflammation and other toxins that directly affect the atherosclerotic process. Whereas plant proteins actually are anti-inflammatory. They have the opposite effect. And I heard, Kiruba, maybe you can clarify, when we mix the pulses, one day you have one pulse, the next day other, you may get the benefit of all the amino acids. Is that true, Kiruba?
Yes, it is true. Because some proteins have high leucine or methionine, so sulfur containing like an amino acid. So that's the reason why we eat rice and dal, because it gives a complete proteinaceous food, because the profile is complete. And also one more important thing is the ratio of blending. We for example, this much parts of rice to this much part of urad dal, right? That's a ratio that's being transferred. And certain formulations, when we develop, the ratio of blending also helps the growth of probiotic microorganisms. So if certain amino acids are higher, then it could decrease the growth. So getting those right formulations, that is something important, and it can have a beneficial effect on the body.
We have Saravanan Kupaswamy here in case he wants to say hello to our group. He's one of our Columbia, Missouri cardiologists who is also integrative medicine specialist in Atlanta. When Dad asked about fruits, that's a question I don't have clear answer, because we know diabetics, their insulin requirement goes up when they take fruits. But we say fruits and vegetables are very healthy to avoid health problems. The main challenge, I believe, is throughout the lifetime, the exposure to sugar added substances like Coke, Gatorade, or energy drinks, or ice creams, cookies, donuts. I tell my patients, anything that tastes good, you have to be doubly careful, because it is sugar added. But whereas fruits have innate sugar in them, and that risk is much lesser, because when we consume it as a fruit, we cannot keep consuming much quantity. We get tired of eating in reality. Our chimpanzee cousins, the monkeys, they eat fruits all through the day. They don't get diabetic. Whereas when we eat the sugar added things, that's a bigger problem. I don't know if Saravanan is able to join us and give his thoughts.
Hey, Anand. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Kiruba. I was about to ask a question anyway. It was an excellent talk. And I think the main thing is having somebody who has a knowledge in the fundamental part of it, like the micro level, and also from a lineage of Siddha and everything is extremely important, I believe. I think that's the knowledge that's lacking, in my opinion. Like a lot of people with knowledge in either this way or that way, but great to see this kind of foundational understanding. One of my questions earlier I was about to ask was, with Kripa, with your story and guru lineage and everything, so when did this transition happen, especially in our part of the world, from the millet-based and this culture to what we are now, right? I think that's one thing seemed to be, if we are doing all these things good, somewhere along the line, looks like we lost those things. And to answer Anand's question, I don't think we'll get one good answer for that. Like, is this food better than that or not? And I always have a question, is also, is the food today, what we call fruit today, is it the same fruit as we called fruit like 100 years ago? Same with the milk today, is it the same milk 100 years ago? So can we even extrapolate what we learned that time directly to what we're doing today? So these are kind of fundamental questions I have, but I'm sure the basic scientists will give us much more answers. So Kripa, maybe from a history, do you know when the transition and how did this happen from millets to where we are now with rice and
Yeah, thank you for those excellent questions. From a millet story standpoint, initially we used to grow a lot of millets because of the climatic conditions that India is being blessed with. And even my grandfather had, he grew millets, rice was the major, but also millets was part of the food that was consumed. And he was healthy. So during the 50s, like World War I, World War II, and after that, there was like a big shortage of food. That's when rationization of food became a big, trend. We wanted ration food. And then like subsidies for major crops like rice, wheat, sugarcane, all came into place during the 50s, 60s-ish. And that's why you can see here, a reduction in the production of millets. If you see this, if you see this trend here, so in the, even then, we were producing something, we were going down, but there was a little bit high production in the, so Asia means mostly India was one of the largest contributor of millets yield. And then you can see from the 70s onwards, there's a drastic reduction in the production of millets. It's because the subsidies, the policies in place were not favoring these millets. And that's where there was now it's slowly graining a little bit up. But during that, the past 50 to 70 years, that's when the decline really started. But even before that, people were consuming it, in southern part of India, kuru that was consumed with millets, and culturally, foods that was ethnic foods were still used in the rural parts of India, like ragi mudde in Canada. So people have kept using millets who are traditionally consuming it, but when your production goes down, your availability goes down, you don't get much, and then eventually it's lost. So that was a question on the millets. Regarding the food, the fruit, the question, I'm trying to connect both Anandana's question and your question. So fruits, they have resistant starch and non-resistant starch. So sometimes, that's what is converted into, fructose. So since it's incorporated with fiber, it's much more easy, it helps in the overall health of the body, but the sugars that's being added to the fruit, they're all processed in such a way that you don't have fiber content in that. So that's why it kind of increases the levels of insulin. So the fruits that were consumed 100 years ago to the fruits that are consumed today, when we look at the nutritional profile, it is not the same, because climate plays an important factor, soil plays another important factor, and the way it's been, the cultivars, because different cultivars, for example, banana has since we're from the southern part of India, 200 plus varieties of banana are present in the southern zone itself. But if you take each banana, we cannot generalize this banana this is the nutritional profile. It's going to vary from the region it's being collected. So the water or the soil that's been grown. Compared to 100 years ago, it was much better soil, water, air quality. To now, it's not that. So there is a decline in the nutritional profile. That's why we want, before we start any experiments, we do a baseline to see what is the nutritional profile, and then we do studies further.
Very nice. One thing that I quickly looked up was India's population. In 1970, we had 500 million people. Now it is nearly 3 times more. So when you say millets has come down, per person, it has come down by closer to 1/3 or even much lesser in the last 30 years, the availability.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, sure.
Excellent,
Thank you.
excellent answers.
I'm sure we'll have more conversations.
Is there any benefit or specifically go for organic in this day and age? Because certain foods, they say better to have organic. As a food specialist, we'd like your thoughts on that. I know it can be a big topic, but whatever you want to advise us, we can hear.
I'm not an expert in that, but based on my limited knowledge, I will it depends upon which farms are the certification we get, right? So we need to be, if a farm nearby is spraying and your farm is not sprayed, then there is going to be a cross-contamination and so on. So it's better to have organic if you are able to get it, but if not, we don't know. The wonderful thing is if we are able to grow our own food and consume, that's the best thing. But in this day and age, we are not able to do that. So I will lean towards more the organic versions. But we don't know what is. So that's what the transparency in the food system is also a big challenge. We don't know what is being sprayed on the farm, what is from your farm to the production area to processing area to transportation, and then the material, the food comes to the supermarket, right? So throughout the supply chain, there is less transparency in the whole food systems. And that's recently, for the past 10, 15, past few years, we've been discussing how can we incorporate transparency by incorporating machine learning, artificial intelligence, so the traceability of the material is more clear. So there is a lot of research that's going on as well. And everything has been accelerated by COVID. People are able to understand the importance of these concepts. And also in 2000, early this decade, FISMA rules were implemented before we had HACCP rule, that is hazard analysis and critical control points. So this was a system that was developed for NASA to make sure food is is safe, nutritious, and so on. But it was only food specific. But the FISMA, that is the Food Safety Modernization Act, that takes into account the soil, the environmental factors, the food, and also the whole supply chain. So as the FISMA Act will become more implemented in the food industry, in the production, then we could have better answers to that question. Yeah. So.
Yes. Thank you very much. And now, whatever ideas you have been giving, our knowledge, just acquaintance to Veda goes back. They have only given the results and suggestions, but all these science of food and involvement, all that is development by the respective scholars and researchers and scientists. But we have got the word Annapurna. You just reverse it, Purnam Annam. See, complete food. That is the embodiment of Devi Tripuramba. That's why we have a prayer done to Tripura Sundari. She is the goddess of food because she is also Annapurna Devi. Purnam Annam. And when so many points you are pointing out, we remember the Anna Suktam, Taittiriya Upanishad and Upanishads have given a lot of knowledge. And for example, as our Dr. Sochokalinganam pointed out, the food you eat will eat us also. Ajyate atticha bhutani. That's what is the definition of annam. Ajyate, it is being consumed, but what is consumed will consume us. And therefore, all cardiologists will put my experience that they put eat less, live more, as we have pointed out. And today, our doctor also has given some more, because this food is the important thing where from everything depends upon the longevity, the health, and the energy, enthusiasm, mindfulness, and minds. Oh, everything depends upon. So, ahara. And moreover, as you said, annam na parichakshita is the statement which you heard. You never waste your food. Parichakshita means you should not waste the food. So that's why when we say amrita pidhanamasi, after eating the food, we are remembering amrita pidhanam. And before we start taking food, we say amrita upastaranamasi. Upastarana is a seating for all that food that is kept turn into amrita. And what your tongue admits, 6 shadrasas are there, as Krishna also pointed out. And the tongue knows which rasa should be admitted more than the other rasas. So some people don't like the bitter gourd. Some people do not like the potatoes. Sometimes people don't like. So all choices are upon the people. And all people cannot go to only one source of food. They depend upon the fish food, the water generated food and air generated food, the birds, the fish, and that is. So like that, food is a wonderful technology. And the knowledge of engineering is very important, as you have pointed out, the methodology and approach of that food. Because that's annam na parichakshita, and annadvai khalvimani bhutani jayante. In fact, all the bhutas or pranis are being born, they live with food, and they get out without food or with food. Too much of indigestion now. So thereby, it is a very interesting, and I'm trying to see how much knowledge has been packed in sutra form by our ancients here since the time immemorial. Because Rigveda cannot be dated, Yajurveda, all because only the Europeans have come and started dating, because dating is a factor for them. So they started dating Rigveda, Yajurveda and all. No, we cannot date. Valmiki Maharshi and all those people say that they just use the word Sanatana. See, Sanatana has not got any specification of time, date and all that, but we have to be deriving all that. And another point is that food, how many times you should take food? 3 times, 4 times. But as we know, man is the only animal who eats even though he's not hungry. And always trying to make the lower jaw working. Kindi davada alladachemo antaru Telugulo kuda. Edo rakanga davada alladistu undadame, whether in airport or elsewhere. But that's where man is exposed to more problems and difficulties, and lot of engineering, lot of science, a lot of technology, a lot of judicious management of foods, and also the kitchen. The cooking is most important. That's why they say Brahmarpanam Brahmavihi Brahmana Nirmitam Pura Tena Brahmaiva Gantavyam. So Brahma, Annam Brahma, Iti Vyajanat. So whenever we look at the food, don't look with any attitude, but think that it is highly valuable. And with all patience, reverence, and time allotted for that. You know, people these days, as Anand pointed out, they have no time to eat at all. They just put something in the, when you are doing probably something in the cup and then take it to the computer pakkana, petukoni, just keep on eating, and so your focus is more on computer screen than on the cup of food that you have got next to you. But this is how that our doctor said, in future generations, especially youngsters, how they are able to manage the 50, 60, 70 years of age. Because they develop a lot of problems, so many hospitals, so many doctors, so much of expertise. And even doctors find it difficult to diagnose the complaint. So what is the cause? So all this problem has come up. Therefore, they said, whenever you take the food, the limitation, eat less and live more. More living means healthy living. That's what all cardiologists, because heart is very important system. And therefore, and we have got a wonderful baby of doctors here, cardiologists and nephrologists, and you are food. So all scientists are here. And we have got also another great cardiologist from Atlanta, Dr. Krishnaswamy Garu, and another software engineer to add to the present talk, which has come out very well. Say 1 hour is not less. We have to be our students now and then, so that we will be able to see and know what we are eating. That knowledge is important. What we are eating and how much it is going to help us. Is there sugar content more or cholesterol or this and all that? And our Dr. Chokkalingam has given a hope and assure that all vegetables don't contain cholesterol. Wonderful suggestion for us. We can eat any vegetable, not caring this. But actually, in olden days, we are not aware of all these formulas of our food eating. Say, you look at the formula, what are the contents? We just, whatever is served on the banana leaf, we used to, because banana leaf was also contributor for food and health systems. Therefore, it's a beautiful analysis. And I think I request Dr. Mohan Garu to come and offer. Krishna Mohan. Yeah, he's there. Welcome, sir. Please.
Well, there is not a whole lot I can say, as everybody else has said everything. And actually, Krupa, it was a very wonderful presentation. Pravachana Garu, thank you very much. And Prasad, thank you. It's a very appetizing beginning with a balanced food displayed on a nice banana leaf, showing the importance of the Shad Rasas and Trigunas and all that good stuff. It is a nice validation of our Vedic literature, even in the current century. So it was a very good presentation with a lot of good information. And when something like this comes out of a nice young lady, people will listen better than when the old man saying, oh, listen to the old stories and eat the ragi mudda and all that. But when something like this comes up from a scientist and a young lady, or young scientist, it doesn't matter whether it is a lady or a young man, it's much more helpful. And this knowledge should be spread all over as much as possible. That will be a wonderful thing to happen. And the comment about fruits, whether they were old, new, however the nutrition in the fruits are, they are heck of a lot better than all the fast foods people are consuming. So just eat up the fruit. Don't worry about are they as good as 100 years ago. What else can I say about the presentation? I think it's a great presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Uncle, for giving this opportunity.
And I'll see whether Sandhya is there. She is still there, to whom I assigned it. I don't know. So anyway, so Sandhya, she's in Atlanta. She's also an engineer. And she said, I do my giving vote of thanks, that job, plus some comments, but I don't know what is that. So anyway, I just tried to bring out the faculty of Kiruba in my first meeting itself. And she is so great that she has agreed and then made a presentation. It is a Sri Ganeshaya Namaha. In the food engineering, we take it as Sri Ganeshaya Namaha, and we expect more and more things. And so thank you very much. And in fact, I happened to meet a small girl, 3 years old. She just came to learn music with my daughter in Chicago. And so looking at her, her mother told she recites the Bhagavad Gita up to 12 chapters by heart, 3-year-old child. Then I said, sir, I thought of introducing the Krishna's contribution or knowledge about this food, Sattvika Ahara, Rajasa Ahara, Tamasika Ahara. and Saddhatraya Vibhaga, that is the section where he wants to introduce the kitchen. And not only Krishna, even later on Acharyas like Shankara and others, they have also given us in their stotras, in Sotrabodha, what kind of food we have got to offer as a Naivedya for Lord Shiva or Annapurna Devi or any other gods or goddesses, and the manner how that kind of food to be prepared also has been indicated by Shankaracharya. Shankara is not only a great Vedantin and all that, but he is also, it seems to be a good cook and a good taste provider. So if you read some of the stotras of Shankara, there he has given how to prepare Naivedyam for Lord Shiva, Naivedyam for Amma, and all that. Even in Lalita Sahasranamam, you see there is some specific foods indicated as part of Naivedyam. Chitranna Prita Manasa, Mudgaudana Sakta Chitta, and Dajjanna Sakta Hridaya, and Sarvodana Prita Chitta. See, this word you must understand the level or degree of liking of food by Devi. Chitranna Prita Manasa, when you offer the Chitrannam, we don't know in English to say that it is everybody's wonderful dish. So everybody prepares in South India, North India, but North Indians maybe not be knowing much. But anyway, Chitranna, if you offer, she is a Prita Manasa. Her mind becomes absolutely lovable. She loves it too much. Who does not love Chitrannam? Everybody. So Chitrannam Prita Manasa and Dajjanna Asakta Hridaya. You see, you talk about milk, curds, ghee, and all these cow products, the milk products. Then there, Dajjan Asakti is there. Asakti is expectation and desire. Akuti is otherwise called. So our meal will have the Purnahuti only with curd rice. If you don't eat curd rice, then your food is not complete. That's why Purnahuti. Because we consider our stomach is a fire furnace. That hunger is the fire. Jirna, that's what is called Chudhagni. But that Agni we have to put. And you can't suppress hunger. Shankaracharya says, you said zero hunger or mild hunger or all that. But Shankaracharya says in that Chudbadha Pariharyatam Bhikshausadam Bhujyatam. Understand? So he says Chudbadha Pariharyatam. Don't go into fasting, because fasting leads to other kinds of problems also. And so Nirvaryata, Nivarana, you know the word, he uses the word Nivarana, prevention. So you have to prevent the pain. All people agree that of all the pains, the hunger, cancer pain is best. People say that. But even more serious than the cancer pain is the hunger pain. Because Indians, we always eat now and then and all that, don't allow the stomach to grow hungry, to grow empty. We don't know the intensity, the pain of hunger. Those poverty, they will have the people die out of hunger. Cancer dying is different matter than the hunger dying. So that's why Chudbadha Pariharyata. And what he suggested, Bhikshaushadam Bhujyata. The Bhiksha, the alms that you get when you go to houses and houses. That's why, in fact, there is a limitation. You cannot go to every house and then collect a lot of food. No, 5 or 10 houses only you should choose to go, collect alms or Bhiksha from them, and that only you should cook and eat. And there are so many stories in our Puranas and all that, how the gods came, Yama or such gods came, tested the people and made them get them moksham and all that. So that's why Bhiksha is aushadham. Thereby the food is a medicine for us. Therefore doctors like our Vatsaka say, if you don't eat your food well, then medicine becomes only your food. So it should not lead to make the medicine food than food as a food. So like that, we have plenty of thoughts, not from the scientific point of view, the results that have been described in our Vedas.
Actually, Uncle, I wanted to add to what you said. Like, we complete the food with yogurt, right? And stomach is the fire, Agni, So whenever there is an enzyme, like pepsin or reaction, there's an exothermic reaction happening. And whenever we have that's a heat generated because of the food and the enzyme activity. And why we have to complete the food with yogurt is because it is rich in probiotics. So once the system has been there's a reaction, now we have to soothe down, and then the probiotic organisms can take the beneficial effect. So absorption of nutrients will be much higher. So the way this has been transferred is so wonderful. And it's now scientifically we are able to see the connection. It makes it like...
That's exactly what the word asakti is used. Adhyayana sakta hridaya. You know the word hridayam, that is seat, the heart, where from all emotions, everything comes up. So, and Dr. Chokkal can point out, the kidney and heart and is connected. Now he is going to connect the heart and the mind next month. So, mind your mindfulness. Therefore, our internal parts of our body are interconnected so much that they have anxiety to receive nutrients. See that the body health balance is maintained. So we can quote number of suktas from Rig Veda and from Yajurveda and so on and so forth, and also from the authors. And probably when they said all these statements, we don't know the science that you are explaining known to them. I don't know Shankara knows it or not. So Shankaracharya, they need not know. They give only the answers. But the hypothesis and the worksheet must be prepared by his only, just like you have done the worksheet. See why we should eat Adhyayana sakta hridaya and payasa anna priya. Payasam is also recommended. So preeti is there for payasam also. Chitrannam and payasam, these are the two important ingredients supplies to our food. And ultimately, and people cannot afford to please her by preparing the specific foods. So our Hayagriva Maharshi tells to Agastya, Sarvodana Prita Chitta. Ultimately, goddess loses all options and prescriptions. She is able to accept whatever vodanam, cooked food, that is offered to her by anybody with devotion. And ultimately in Durga Sahasranamam, for example, same Tripuramba as Durga will admit as Naivedyam and food, Dushta Mamsa Bhachini. She will eat the raw mutton also, because the hunters cannot cook and give the baked food. So as they kill the animal, as they eat that directly, they would offer, poor lady, what she can do. She loves them. So Dushta Mamsa Bhachini. Well, there may be an interpretation different, but what we understand is that there should be a lot of judicious consideration and management and keep our body, mind and health to connect ourselves to the Shraddha at the same time, the three gunas, that is Sattva, Rajo, Tamoguna. Tamoguna is not very much, so we have to transcend from Tamoguna, because Tamoguna is liking any and every food. One of my friends, whatever there in the menu list in the hotel, restaurant, I want to cover all the items. So every day I used to go and offer order for one. Until I complete the menu list in the restaurant, I will not stop going to that. But this kind of asakti is not recommended by any scientist or a doctor, is it not? So you have to choose. The menu list is given to you, and that's why you have also the order. You talked about order, wonderful. You have to start with the payasam and end with the yogurt. In between, whatever have been served, that should be so judiciously accepted. And you should not ask for more things of one you liked earlier, but later on you dislike that what you ate. So, for example, masala dosa, one dosa is good. If you order simultaneously 4 dosas or 5 dosas, like my friend was a principal of National College, he would order 3 masala dosas, and for us only 1 masala dosa. I used to comment, no doctor, he'll take time to bring all that, so I want to have all the 3 masala dosas on my table. So this kind of people are there. People are wonderful. Chitram vai prajaha. Therefore, talks like yours or others, like our Smrita and our Anand and our all these are, and also our Krishna Mohan, he's not talking much, he's very much this. But all these things are important to make ourselves Ritamanam Bhavatu, Saradi Vasantaha. So if at all you want to see 100 atoms or 100 winter, 100 summers, etc., we must have all this kind of disciplineness, because food discipline, eating discipline will cover the most important yoga of yogas, Yoginam Braha. So very nice talk, and we should bank upon the knowledge of the rishis also. Now you have given me some good homework. When I happen to meet you or talk to you or phone, I will try to connect whatever analysis you have given. This analysis is needed for many people to get convinced of their habits. Otherwise, I mean, if you, that's why on every food product we have got a formula at the backside. But when you go to the ghee, because ghee there is no formula at all, natural food it is. So for curds there is a formula, for milk there is a formula. How so much of that? For ghee, that's why Ghrutam vai aharam devanam. All gods have like food, I mean ghee as their offering. That's why, you know, when however many offerings we make to gods, every offering is accompanied by the ghee. So ghee mixed ahutis are being given to God as food, Agni, Chandra. So there is a lot of technology. And in fact, we had one great chemistry professor, the chemical reaction taking place because of the ghee in every ahuti offered for the gods in the Yagnavedi. So the subject is very vast, but you are trying to put us wonderfully to the knowledge that food is very important, food technology is important, food preparation is important, and food wastage should be banned, because Amrito Pidhanamasi means when once you say that whatever food has been accepted into your stomach fire furnace, that should turn into Amritam and give you energy to all parts of our body equally, harmoniously, and that is important to that. So actually, all these three lectures, I mean lectures we have this month, this year, by Smrita, Anand, and you and others, has given us a wonderful impetus and initiation and insight into important items for our health management and all that. And next month we are having the valedictory by our Dr. Sokalingan, Mind Your Mindfulness, because the mind is the place where from all signals come to our body system, and the signal source is that mind, and mindfulness also is important. We will have a wonderful talk by that. And again, next month we are going to have a beautiful talk on Bhajagovinda Stotram. It's a valedictory for that Stotra Bodha, because Govindam Bhaja and Shankara. So that's why we can bank upon the ancient knowledge and Rishi's culture, and Rishi Peetham is our India, and our India is a Chakravarti Kshetram also. India is a wonderful sacred river Kshetram, and there are so many dhamas, and India is a place where gods have walked, avatars have taken place, and therefore very happy to know much about this food and all that. Thank you very much. Thank you, to all the doctors who have participated, and to that small girl, 3 years old, Adya, her name is Adya, everything begins from her, Mooladharam. And next is Siddhartha, and Dr. Anjaneya Prasad. I offer thanks to you and welcome you, and we expect you to be back next month, the 3rd Sunday and 4th Sunday for these programs. We'll be sending the flyers to you. Vasan, are you there?
Yes, Guruji.
Yes, please.
Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Shri Vasudevarpanamastu. Shri Veda Purusha Ashirvadostu. Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Guruji. Namaste Guruji.
This Vasan is now managing all Veda classes, other classes in India, in my absence, in our absence there. So we congratulate and appreciate his contribution to the Vedic world. And thanks to him also, who has been an inspiration to many, many people to turn to Vedic knowledge and learn so much of Vedic wisdom and get better. But KS Bhatt, we offered compliments to you and question I asked, and he is also one engineer. He has spoken about it. Last time he gave talk on the Aditya Hridayam, and that has reached so many people. Like that, all talks are going worldwide as Anand wanted, or Dr. Chokkalingam wanted. It's all reaching more people because of this international internet medium. And thanks to everybody. And we invoke the blessings of all gods. Thank you very much. Sri Ram, Sri Ram, Sri Ram.
Thank you, Guruji.
So Kiruba, if you can make a small note on that, and we'll just 1 or 2 or 3 pages, we'll publish it in our Vedana Sarit. That's very interesting, inspiring. It will have a more circulation also before the full paper goes into the Veda Ganga in our annual day celebrations, which we are planning on December 18th and 19th. The ancient epics as a source, as resources for spiritual knowledge, problem solving, and happiness. That was the theme, and we'll contribute for that in Veda Ganga. You are welcome. Thank you, sir. You made some time to be with us and participate and contribute to that, Krishna Mohan and the doctors, all doctors.
Thank you, Olga. Bye.
So you can send me in a day or 2 or 3 or 4, 2 or 3 pages on what you have been able to present it. Huh? Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.